Hello, and welcome to this roundup of fake engagements in historical romance novels. I'm Olivia, your favorite resource for book recommendations you can easily screenshot, and you're watching Random Olive Reads. Her Adventures in Temptation by Megan Frampton is book 3 of the School for Scoundrels series. Myrtle is the outspoken, awkward, mathematically inclined sister of a viscount who wants to avoid marriage and start her own financial consulting agency. When the painter her brother hired is asked to leave a house party, Myrtle takes the opportunity to hitch a ride to London with him. Simeon is an illegitimate orphan who is adopted by an independent female painter and basically taught to prioritize his art above all else. However, the soft hearted Simeon seems to give away his money to the needy at every turn and has none of it for himself, causing him to take on portrait commissions he doesn't like and to take Myrtle's money to help her go to London. As these two spend more time together, it's clear that they have an opposites attract sort of chemistry. Somehow, Myrtle gets caught by her brother and then forced to assist in her niece's debut. But she has no social charm or graces, so she recruits her only friend in town, Simeon, to assist. They end up in a fake engagement to preserve everyone's reputation, but still fall in love with each other despite wanting so much to hold on to their independence. Forever Your Rogue by Erin Langston is a standalone historical romance. Widowed Viscountess Cora is being challenged over the custody of her two young children. She comes up with a scheme for a fake fiancé to help bolster her upcoming legal case to retain physical custody. Nate is the second son of an earl and a dissolute rake who's been cut off from funds from his older brother. Knowing that Nate needs the money and that he owes her a favor, Cora sets up a contract with Nate for the arrangement, which includes him coming to her country estate for 2 weeks while her in laws are also in residence. What follows is a slow realization for Nate of Cora's strength and determination, and him figuring out that he can't just be a screw up forever. While he interacts with the kids and supports Cora's struggles, Nate does a lot of growing up himself, even if Cora doesn't quite trust him yet. It Had to Be a Duke by Vivian Lorette is book 1 of the Liars Club series. Verity is the oddball of her family, being sensible and plain rather than an outrageous actor. Faced with an embarrassing situation with her catty neighbor, she makes up a lie that she's engaged to a duke. When Magnus hears a rumor that he's engaged from the father of the heiress that he wants to marry, he runs off to the village where Verity lives to settle the issue. Magnus and Verity are long-standing family rivals from a time when Magnus's father lost a lot of money in an investment and Magnus blames Verity's father for the swindle. He definitely does not want to be associated with Verity or her family, but he seems to need to rescue her from her own clumsiness and daring. He's also annoyingly stiff and proper and sometimes even mean to her. Of course, he's only mean to her because he's attracted to her when he doesn't want to be. They continue a temporary fake engagement so that he doesn't appear outwardly cruel, and of course, he slowly starts to soften towards her. There's a lot of grudge holding and angry bickering in the story, but it's interesting to see how these two find common ground. Who Needs a Duke by Amanda Mariel is book 5 of the Fated for a Rogue series. Catherine is the sister of a duke who does not want to get married because she likes her independence and wants to carry on her charity work with orphans. She thinks that she needs to do this in secret and that any future husband of hers would forbid her from continuing. Charles is tired of the title hungry mothers and debutantes and wants to avoid all of that this season. So when he hears that his friend's sister would also like to avoid marriage, he develops a plan that will hopefully satisfy them both. Catherine and Charles then spend the rest of the season in a fake courtship, then a fake engagement, and with all the time they're spending together, of course they fall in love. Revealing the Viscount by Lexi Post is book 3 of the Marrying a Mabry series. Mariel is the oldest Mabry sister whose beloved fiance had died in war. She married a much older man to restore her family's finances, and now she's a widow. She just learned that her once fiance is not dead after all and is forced out of hiding to become a Viscount after his brother's death. Marcus has indeed been hiding from Mariel, at first because he thought that she betrayed him by getting married so soon after his supposed death, and now because he believes that he's incapable of having children after witnessing atrocities of war. When Mariel comes to confront Marcus over his deception, they both notice that the other person has changed a lot over the years. They ultimately agree to a fake engagement to preserve Mariel's reputation and to keep away all the debutantes who are vying for Marcus's hand. As these two spend more time together, it's clear they're both still in love, but very damaged from their separate experiences. They definitely need to talk through their issues and attempt to overcome them before being able to be together. The Wicked Wallflower by Maya Rodal is book one of the Wallflower trilogy series. A trio of wallflowers are lamenting their fourth season as unwed ladies. While Emma has been courted by a quiet, unassuming gentleman for many years, he has not proposed yet because of the financial constraints of both of their families. Emma's friends drunkenly write a fictitious newspaper announcement of a betrothal, thinking it would force the man's hand to propose. But at the same time, they also aim for a very handsome and eligible duke in a separate announcement. This one actually gets printed in the newspaper, and now Emma is the center of attention uh, amongst sociable ladies, hoping to catch her in the lie. Blake is a rogue of a duke who is looking for investors for a machine he's working on, but his rakish reputation is not very helpful. When he sees the newspaper announcement declaring his engagement to a mild, unscandalous wallflower, he decides to continue the charade so that it improves his own reputation. Emma and Blake agree to the fake engagement while they're at Blake's aunt's house party, attempting to win the family fortune. While Emma tries to resist Blake's advances, he sees her as an adorable challenge and slowly starts to appreciate her wit and humor. She can hardly believe that his feelings are true, so she clings on to her love for the other suitor for as long as possible. Some Like It Scandalous by Maya Rodal is book two of the Gilded Age Girls Club series. Daisy and Theo are lifelong enemies after he created a cruel nickname for her when they were young teenagers. However, they're forced together in an arranged engagement while fails to live up to his steel magnate's father's expectations, and Daisy's family might soon be under scrutiny because of her father's investments. Since these two are not actually interested in marrying each other, they decide to fake an engagement to relieve the pressure from their parents while they pursue other projects. Daisy is a chemist and has been developing a complexion balm that she hopes to sell to support herself. Theo is aimless and doesn't really have much going on for him except for his charm and his looks. Somehow they end up teaming up on Daisy's product, and their strengths really do complement each other. Plus, as they spend more time together, they actually start to get to know one another and become friends, and maybe more. This was a fun, slow burn sort of romance, with Theo being the one to prove his worth and give his full support to Daisy's invention. The Duchess Takes a Husband by Harper St. George is book four of the Gilded Age Heiresses series. This is the story of Camille, an American heiress who was married off to a much older duke. And throughout the first three books of the series, we got to see bits of the cruel treatment that she had endured from her husband, ultimately seeing his death in the bed of his mistress at a house party. Now that she's been a widow for the past 2 years, Camille is slowly trying to reclaim her identity and participating in causes that her husband would have disapproved of, like a home for young women or the women's suffrage movement. She also tries to determine if she can ever find sex pleasurable, and she propositions a man to assist her. Jacob is the illegitimate son of an earl, and he refuses Camille's proposition at first, not wanting to make things awkward because their social circles overlap. He ends up needing a fake fiance to prove his stability for a business arrangement and asks Camille to play the part. Of course, she only agrees in exchange for the sex lessons that she'd wanted in the first place. We soon realize that Camille has underlying fears of the act due to the ill treatment from her husband, and Jacob needs to be gentle and patient, as well as allow Camille to be in control of their intimacies. We get to see our charming, rakish hero slowly fall in love with Camille and help in her journey towards empowerment. Her Rake Fiancé by Mariah Stone is book 2 of the Dukes and Secrets series. Richard is looking for information about his missing brother from a certain prominent criminal and is promised information in exchange for him marrying the man's sister. Jane is the legitimate daughter of a baron who was cast out of society after her father's death due to her connection with her criminal brother. But Jane has no desire to get married because she wants to run a school for impoverished children. She and Richard strike a deal to help him find the information he needs before the supposed wedding, and then they'll break off the engagement. Of course, as they spend more time together, they slowly start to fall in love, and Richard is the one who proposes that they turn their fake engagement into a real one. Jane is unsure since she has her own goals with her school, and she doesn't quite fit into polite society anymore. It's all a bit of a muddle here, but I appreciated that these two communicate pretty well about their past traumas and grow closer because of it. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully you found a book or two to add to your TBR. Links to all of these books are in the description box. Like and subscribe to get updates, and you can follow me on Instagram at randomolive.